Okay, listen, our minds are being hacked by the masters. They're in our head. We're being controlled. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm going to talk about how they do it, how it affects us, and how to keep it from happening, how to keep them out of your head today on the Midnight American. It is an insane environment that we're living in right now. It's really sad because it's a great world. It's an amazing time we live in. But for some reason, the seeds of division and hate are being dumped into our minds every day, and it's leaving people scared and confused and trying to figure out what the hell is happening in this country right now. It's that our brains are being hijacked by the usual suspects, the corporations, Hollywood, academia, probably religion, some media, and of course, the government. They're all using technology, big tech, to hack into our brains and control our emotions and sell us on dependence to their product, position, or policies. They don't want unity. They don't want togetherness and clarity. All right, they're not looking for peace. There's no money or power in that. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways that these maestros of manipulation remove our independence while creating an addiction to blame and hate. The first way is by condemning free thought while rewarding the autopilot. The second way is by getting into our minds and telling us who we are with absolutely no regard for who we really are. They don't care, okay? And the third way is by agitating the threat response with the understanding that most people want to avoid conflict and just live in peace. They just want to live comfortably, you know? And you might doubt that any of this insidious stuff is happening. You might think that this is kind of a conspiracy thing I'm talking about, but look around. Do people seem like they're awake, aware, and living in the moment to you? Do they listen actively? Do they have a point of view that sounds interesting and original? Can they articulate their thoughts on a particular subject clearly and intelligently? Or do they walk around, look distracted, staring at their phones or their computer, right? Moving mostly on impulse and autopilot, okay? If they have an opinion, it's usually just something that they've heard chanted through some headline retread or some group slogan, someone who blames everyone else for all their problems. There was this motivational speaker, his name was Earl Nightingale. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase what he said. He says, your mind is like a rich soil. It's like a garden, and it will grow whatever you plant in it. If you plant corn, you're going to get corn. If you plant a poison ivy seed, you're going to get poison ivy in rich abundance. And your mind is like that rich soil. It will manifest whatever it is that you put in it, and whatever you plant in it, and what you plant there matters. So even if you planted quality information into your mind, you've learned a lot. If you don't manage what goes into your mind, then the weeds, the insects, the varmints, they're going to come and trash your garden. They're going to trash your mind with moral outrage and guilt and fear and lies and sins of the system and sins of the past. And the reason why is because we're switched off. We're running on autopilot. And when you're not thinking, it's very easy to play on your emotions. And that's why they condemn free thought. And that's why they reward the autopilot. And the only answer is to take a deep breath, look around you, become awake, aware, and in the moment, and think. And immediately take control of this first problem. Don't go on autopilot. The second way your overlords are hijacking your thoughts is by telling us who we are with no regard for who we actually are. And it is strange to me, odd to me, how many innovators, artists, creators, performers, people I love, people I want to help in every way that I work with, they're into this shit. They claim to be the voices of social justice while advocating this narrow-minded division. But the craziest thing about it is that if you're not into, say, 8 figures a year, something like that, you're still working your way up. You are the ones who tomorrow will suffer the worst from this. It's called censorship, man. And knowing who you are in reality, away from all this mental trash, allows you to study, to define, to build yourself as an individual and not as a robotic servant to the collective. This is how you bring actual value, your work, your creativity, to people you care about, to the world, to benefit yourself even. And you're of no benefit to anyone if you're of no benefit to yourself. So consider that. I actually covered this in a video called Journey to Know Yourself, and I'll set a link to it somewhere around here, but check it out, you'll like it. But if they're telling us who we are, or who we should be, with no regard for who we actually are, no understanding of where we come from, how we think, where our principles lie, the answer is a full aggressive stop, because that is abuse. You don't get to do that. Don't try to convince them of anything, because they're on a mission. They don't care, okay? You define your purpose. The final thing I wanted to discuss and mention was the way that the media easily agitates our threat response, okay? Because they know, the overwhelming majority of people, we know we got things pretty good. It's wonderful in this modern world. It really is. And it's so easy to take it for granted. I mean, if you were around 30, 40 years ago, you know how wonderful of a civilization we live in. The modern conveniences. So your overlords know. You got your drug and your drink and your phone and your games and your Netflix and your internet porn. If you don't have your job anymore, you probably got a government check. What? You're satisfied enough not to rock the boat, and they know it. They know it, as quoted in The Matrix. Most people are not ready to be unplugged, and many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system. Not only will they not defy it, but they will fight to protect it. And I told you why. It's right here. It's right here. Cheap, fast, easy, convenient. It is an amazing, magical device. And people have never been so spoiled, so pampered, and with everything at a touch of a button. But yet, they're unsatisfied because there is so little challenge. Human beings were not built for easy. We were built for adversity. We were built for challenge. We were built to live. And the less we're challenged, the more depressed we get. And when we fail to stop and think, believe me, someone else will think for you. That's why we're told there's no reason to feel grateful, because of that over there and that over there and those people. Those are the ones you should fear. Those are the ones you should blame and hate and attack and cancel. Those are the ones, not us. Don't look at us. Those people over there. And you need to find your little comfortable blame group and follow and protest and blame. There was a prediction made back in 1961 by Aldous Huxley. He was the author of Brave New World. And he said there will be, in the next generation or so, a pharmacological method of making people love their servitude. And producing a dictatorship without tears, so to speak, producing a kind of painless concentration camp for entire societies, so that people will, in fact, have their liberties taken away from them, but rather enjoy it. And in 1961, it's likely Aldous never envisioned such a drug as this. So in recap, the first concern we were talking about, turn off the stream of information that's going into your brain and schedule a time to just think. Use your brain the way it was meant to be used. Manage the information that comes into your head that crushes free thought while rewarding the autopilot. As to the second issue, people are going to tell you who you are who don't even know who you are because they don't want to know. What they want is to control you. But at the end of the day, your response to what they think you should be And the actions you take, you will be held responsible for those actions. You are responsible for them. So you better know your strengths and weaknesses and blind spots and everything that you need to know yourself away from that information that they're exposing you to, and control the garbage that tells us who we are with no regard for our own personal experiences and beliefs. And as to the final point, agitating the problem so that we can really poke the threat response. This is a technique that's been used in the sales process forever, okay? In this case, it's, do you want to lose your convenient, comfortable lifestyle or face the aggressive punishment of the man behind the curtain? You can live fat and happy if you want to, but without any real exterior changes, we're not really living in truth. And with that, I'll finish with this. Truth and fairness, they get thrown around together a lot. But truth is determined by evidence, by the real, and can sometimes seem unfair. Fairness or unfairness doesn't need evidence. All it needs is someone to feel something about it. It's vague, it's ambiguous, and outside of reality, it's dangerous. And much of the trash that goes into our minds that controls us is designed to work in that way. It's designed to disconnect us from reality and ourselves, and to pit our thinking mind against the emotional collective. If we're looking for peace and unity, and I am, guys, I am. I don't want to blame or hate anyone. We need to manage what goes into our brains. We need to relax and be silent and think. That's it. Thank you so much for being a part of the Midnight American today. If you got some value today from this message, subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate it. Check out midnightamerican.com. And that's it. Until next time, know yourself better than you know anyone else.